Alternative music didn't really arrive in the early 90s. It was already there. In clubs, in basements, on indie labels, on college radio stations most people never turned into. Dozens of bands, hundreds of players, thousands of fans. And not a lot of agreement on what any of it was called. It wasn't a genre yet. It was just movement without a label. And then it broke. And when it broke, it didn't just bring one sound into the mainstream. It pulled in everything at once. Rock, punk, indie, hip-hop, all briefly sharing the same space on the radio dial. Not because it was planned, because it was already happening underneath it. This is a snapshot. This isn't a complete history of alternative radio. It's a small cross-section of a much larger ecosystem that had already existed before anyone knew how to package it. Because by the time mainstream noticed alternative music, it had already been building for years. In parallel scenes, in different cities, on different labels, talking to itself through tapes, clubs, and late-night radio. Alternative radio, at least at the beginning, was not unified.
So I understand you're a big fan of alternative music, huh?
Completely. I thought this was a music station.
Oh, it is. Here's a song.
I don't think so!
Wait a minute. You're not Beck.
It was fragmented. College stations, independent DJs, regional scenes that barely overlapped.
Down in Texas, we've got Butthole Surface here. Let's give them a big hand. Actually, we started out, we were trying to play a song. To greet the Beastie Boys.
Seattle sounded different from Los Angeles. New York didn't sound like Minneapolis. Hip-hop wasn't even in the same conversation most of the time. But something was forming underneath all of it. A shared rejection of polish. A shared interest in distortion, in experimentation.
Get a shot of Adam's belt if you can.
Not fitting clean categories. It wasn't a genre. It was a network. Dozens of bands, hundreds of players, thousands of fans. And a kind of invisible conversation happening all across all of them. The sound existed before the industry knew what to call it. And for a while, that was enough. Then something shifted. Nirvana happened. More specifically, Nevermind happened. Not as a beginning, but as a rupture. Suddenly, what had been underground became visible. And the industry did what it always does when it doesn't understand something. It tried to replace it. radio stations started looking for other different sounds. Labels started signing anything that felt adjacent. Alternative stopped being outside the system. It became a category inside it. And in that transition, a lot of things that had been living on the edge suddenly had somewhere to land.
Give us your names and what high schools you go to and how old you are.
My name is Teresa. I'm 60. I'm a secretary.
My name is Gibby. I can't think of anything funny to say.
We're the symbol of rock and roll.
Then you started hearing what was already there,
Our image portrays one of our many personalities.
under the
We're
surface.
kind of a schizophrenic kind of band,
L7 wasn't new when the spotlight hit.
and we have multiple personalities, but I guess this would cover
They had
one
already
of our
been building their
personalities.
sound in the
Thank you.
underground. Loud, distorted, unpolished in a way that wasn't aesthetic. It was just how it came out. These bands didn't change when alternative radio opened up. The visibility around them changed. And if you were listening at the time, this wasn't a sudden shift. It felt more like what was already there got turned up in the mix.
We threatened them. Susie came up with a slogan that, who does L7 have to go to serve Coors at Lollapalooza? Signed L, always the bridesmaid, never the bride 7. And
Bada bing, bada
about
boom.
2 months later, they finally said yes.
They finally got the joke.
Then there's the Breeders. The Breeders sit in a slightly different space. Less raw explosion, more compression and clarity. This was indie, already halfway to the mainstream before anyone called it alternative. College radio to MTV pipeline. Underground to visible without fully changing shape. And that matters, because not everything in this era was about distortion or aggression. Some of it was just structure finally getting heard.
No way. What?
And then you have Digable Planets, which complicates the entire idea of what alternative radio even means. Jazz-influenced hip-hop, loop textures, a completely different lineage sitting in the same general cultural moment, with voices like Ladybug Mecca helping define that sound. This wasn't rock, but it existed in the same ecosystem of not mainstream in the traditional sense. And for a brief moment, alternative radio had enough elasticity to hold it, which is easy to forget now because those categories later separated again. But at that time, they certainly overlapped. Now again, this is just a slice of that moment in time, not a full representation. There were hundreds of other bands, entire scenes that never crossed into the same visibility. Movements that stayed local or fragmented or simply evolved outside of the spotlight. But this particular cross-section shows something specific. How wide the space briefly became, and how many different sounds could exist in it at once.
3, 2...
If you grew up with this era, it can feel like it was always mainstream. But at the time, it wasn't. It was still overlapping underground scenes that had suddenly been placed in the same frame. And looking back, what stands out isn't just the individual bands. It's the fact that for a brief moment, they all fit on the same dial. Not because they were the same, but because the sound finally opened wide enough to hear them together.